My name is Schuengel. I'm mainly these days a gaming licensing specialist. We also do structures, we do games, we do everything. But primarily at the moment, I help people who need to set up their companies, get licenses, get structured.
And I heard in the news that there is a new gaming license in town. Can you tell a little bit more about it?
So there's been a few grey market licenses, or pre-regulated market licenses as we call them these days, been popping up. The latest one, as you said, is called Nevis. It's aiming to be like the Curacao of old, the Isle of Man of old. It already compares itself to the Isle of Man, calls itself Tier 1, which I think is a little bit ambitious, but there has always been a space between the true Tier 1s, which is sort of used to be Isle of Man, and then Malta, Gibraltar, the top European super duper respected jurisdictions. And the sort of easy to get ones, the Curacao of olds, the Anjouan, the Tubics, the Kanawakis, who were, I wouldn't say at the bottom, but who were easier to obtain, less strict, and therefore very popular. And there's always been a space in the middle, and I think that is where I see Nevis. So it's not, in my book, a true Tier 1, because it takes a lot more to that. But it is a good potentially a good middle of the road solution, because it is a new license, and a lot of people are already saying it's the next big thing, it's great, get it, it's proven. It's not, it's new. I think it has great potential, especially because of the people behind it who have great experience in doing this. But it is relatively new, but I can see it succeed, and I can see it succeed in that sweet spot in the middle between being too strict and being a little bit maybe too relaxed. So that's where Nevis sits at the moment.
What do you think? What's missing to be called Tier 1 in your book?
It's all about FATF, AML, Manival, all these kind of strict frameworks that we have these days, and that's really where it sits. So if you speak to any banker around here or anywhere really, what you need is this European reputation that still helps you, and that's why these are the Tier 1 big guys like Malta. If you have any kind of Malta license, your life as an operator, or any true Tier 1 license, your life as an operator is so much easier, because you have easier and cheaper banking, everyone loves to deal with you, you get sponsorships. That's what a true Tier 1 is. It's this super respectability. I'm not saying Nevis can't achieve that, but at the moment I think it's a little bit away from being a true Tier 1. It has the potential to be there, but the people who have to really like your jurisdiction are the lawyers and the bankers. And I'm not sure they like Nevis as much at the moment as they like Malta or Gibraltar.
A bit of a house cleaning. What is Nevis? Where is it located on the map? Can you tell some basics about it?
It's a Caribbean island, St. Kitts and Nevis. Nevis does its own thing, actually. So a lot of people say, that's St. Kitts and Nevis. No, Nevis can do its own thing, so we checked that part. It looks like a fantastic place to visit, just when we went down to Vanuatu, so I might try and go up to Nevis and find out what's going on there. It looks like a fantastic little Caribbean island.
And besides iGaming, would there be any benefit to open a business there?
A lot of these, especially small jurisdictions like Nevis, like the little islands, they do try and push themselves as locations for people to base themselves. I'm not sure how realistic that is in the case of Nevis. We have seen it in Asia with East Timor wanting to muscle in now. They have a new license and they go a step further, which might be interesting for operators, for example, who came from the Philippines, where the pogos were banned. A lot of them moved to East Timor, because they actively attract large numbers of people. Now, these gaming operators, the way the split normally works is you have your operational, your licenses, your lawyers, and compliance people in one location, because you only need a handful of those, and your big operations, your hundreds, thousands of staff somewhere else, because I can't just ship 1,000 people to Nevis. It's not practical. East Timor is kind of trying to muscle in on that to a degree. If that works, we will see. Realistically, the model that you will see more is people using, and this is something, by the way, that we specialize in as well, people using a pre-regulated market license from anywhere, maybe Anjouan, Nevis, Curacao, the new one is fantastic. They're doing very, very well. That's a great new proposition from them. Curacao really turned the corner, and it's a fantastic model. You have your license there, and maybe a small office there as required, but your actual operations or your back office is in places, for example, like the Philippines, where PACCOR, the local regulator, allows you to have a special BPO, a business process outsourcing license or permit, which allows you to have all your back office there with fantastic English-speaking staff, high technology, good infrastructure. You're not allowed to do the gambling there, but you can do the back office services officially and protected by the government. That's the model we see at the moment. So you're not going to see operators pack up wherever they are and all move all their stuff to Nevis. That's just not realistic. But they will maybe get the Nevis license, and then through people like us, get an office in the Philippines where all the customer support is, and they can do that legally because, PACCOR will then say, okay, if once they're comfortable with that regulator, yep, you have that license, we acknowledge that. This is something we need to see because it's a new license. And you can have your support here with our license and you're completely legal and covered.
In this industry, usually people are referring to markets as regulated market and unregulated market. And as much I heard over the last few decades, more and more markets became very much regulated. Is there still anything out there that you would really call unregulated, or do you think in a few years maybe everything is requiring a local license? How do you see the future?
What we really see at the moment is that you have, like you said, we call them pre-regulated markets now, which sort of gives you an idea of what's coming. They're going to be regulated at some point, all of them, because all the governments see, we can make money, and they're going to bring in their own license. It's inevitable. And that's why we're seeing the B2C model already dying in all the pre-regulated jurisdictions. In the Isle of Man, for example, where I'm based half of the year, we had our own problems at the moment, but the grey B2C model was already dying because the number of countries that a tier 1 license is comfortable you targeting is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Like you said, everyone brings in their own license, and then if I target Germany with an Isle of Man license, Germany picks up the phone and goes, do something, and then the regulator will shut you down. So you will always get the little licenses that allow you to, how we put it politely, judge the risk yourself as an operator, which countries you wish to target. But this model is really dying out. The model that we see and that we do a lot of that will continue is B2B, because once you have all these country-specific licenses, every regulator will know that you're legit. Every bank that works with any regulator will want to know, you're supplying games to Germany. Okay, who are you? Do you have any kind of B2B license? And so, we have in Malta or Isle of Man or the new JIP coming out, we're doing that, or we have a Curacao. And you will see the B2B license continue quite strongly. We still see demand there, but the B2C grey market, that will fade away at the top end. At the bottom end, at the more or less stringent licenses, to be polite, it will continue. There will be, and there is a growing niche also of unlicensed operators, which I wouldn't recommend you do. It exposes you to certain risks. But that's that black and dark fringe that will always exist. But it is getting significantly smaller as all the different countries in the world bring in their own licenses because they want the tax money.
That makes perfect sense. And you mentioned this type of license suitable for B2B for sure. We also talked about operator licensing, but I also heard that there is a new segment in the business which now might, or in some jurisdictions, require license, and that's the affiliate operation. Can you expand on that?
This has been an idea that a number of jurisdictions have floated. It's more to do with supplier accreditation and licensing. So one of the reasons we see this happening, for example, the most prominent example might be the Philippines, who recently announced a supplier accreditation program. That's been on the cards for a long time. Part of this is to control illegal gambling or unregulated gambling. So if you take the Philippines as a prime example here, PACCOR is very on the ball. The chairman knows what he's doing. He's one of the real proper thought leaders in the whole industry when it comes to licensing. It's also great to deal with. What you have there is they saw there's still a lot of unregulated, unlicensed operators targeting the Philippines from outside the country because they know it's a lucrative market. It's fantastic. They see DigiPlus making lots of money, and they're like, we want some. You can't touch us. We're out of the country. We play the usual game. PACCOR saw that, and rather than just blocking domains, which makes no sense, lesser regulators do that. If you look at Australia, they send press releases out, we blocked another 50 domains. I see that every time I see that, I laugh, because it's like, Yeah, at the same time, they have put 15,000 new domains out. I mean, what's the point? Paco looked at that, understood that, and went, okay, we need to go after the suppliers. And now they accredit the suppliers. And if they now see you target the Philippines and they see your product on an illegal site, they're going to pick up the phone and go, excuse me, if you want to target our market legally with a Pico license or with your Pico operators, you have to stop supplying these illegal guys. And this will expand to the marketing side, to the affiliate side and other jurisdictions to make sure that all these local licenses, governments will going to move in to protect them. And they're not going to do it by domain blocking. They're going to go after your money streams. And if you are caught, for example, in the Philippines supplying it to an illegal site, you get warned. And you get only warned a couple of times. And then they basically say your product is no longer allowed in the Philippines. And if you have, say, DigiPlus as your client, who have 44 million players, you don't going to risk that. You can have 44 million players legally and protected and pay your tax and be nice, or you can play the Wild West game. And if it comes to the business decision, people will go with the protected. This is something you will see more and more. Again, governments protecting their new legal frameworks and keeping everyone playing by the rules.
As things stand right now, what would you say, what's the most advanced or easiest to obtain and maintain type of tier 1 license that an operator could get? Of course, putting aside from the business model, because there are other decisions to be made there, but from licensing point of view.
They're all quite similar in the effort. If you go for the highest one, then there's always considerable effort and cost involved. That's something people need to understand. You're talking, 6 figures very, very easily in any currency to get a tier 1 license. The Isle of Man at the moment is undergoing a bit of a transition. They had some issues recently with all the different cases and things. So B2B, I think, is still, if you're not from Southeast Asia, based on the recent risk assessment that they sent out, risk appetite statement, sorry. If you're not from Southeast Asia or Asia, essentially, the Isle of Man is certainly still an option. Especially for B2B, it's good, it's relatively quick, and we can do those relatively cost effectively. And you still have a nice British license. We sell it as a British license, and I still very much like it. Malta is still doing well, but the one I'm actually looking at the moment is the new framework coming out in Gibraltar. Gibraltar, of course, if you remember, I've been doing this 25 years now, almost. They were a big player in the early days and sort of faded away a little bit, or at least stayed quiet, and now they're sort of re-emerging. And I think that's one definitely to look at. But they're all, in the terms of the effort and the cost and the time required, they're all very similar because they're all at the same level, they all play by the same rules, and therefore the paperwork is very similar. So,
thank you. And how would you summarize the state of licensing in 2025 in general?
We have a diminishing B2C pre-regulated or grey markets area. We have the easy to obtain ones at the bottom end of the markets. Bottom doesn't mean bad, but means easier to obtain, less tricked, let's keep it polite. Like the Anja ones and so on. They will try and cash in as long as they can. If that model is sustainable is the question. You're going to have people trying to go in the middle, like Nevis coming up now, and you're going to have the guys at the top who will try to remain relevant. But more and more what you will see is operators will have to choose. Do you want to be in the grey, Wild West? You want to play that game with all the rules that come with it? Or do you want to do what I call the Entain model? Because they very early switched over to only doing regulated. Or, like Intralot, when I worked for them, we only ever did government and regulated. Is that the model you want to do? Businesses have to decide, because you can't really do both. If once you had like a dabble in the grey and black area, it's very hard then to rock up to a country and say, hey, we made loads of money in your country, can we have an official license now? Because they're going to go and look at you and go, no. So it's more and more important that you make a decision as an operator. Am I going for the purely proper regulated local licenses? And then you have to be selective, because you can't get them all because it's insanely expensive. Pick your markets more carefully. Or are you going to continue playing the grey game and see where it leads to? It's diminishing, it's getting harder. There's still money in it. Lots of these guys do it. But this is, I think, the most crucial decision for operators in the future is, do you want to dance in the light or you want to dance in the shadows?
Thank you very much for this deep insight.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure to talk to you.